Welcome back to Prospect Analytics. We have a great episode lined up for you today. We're going to be joined by Andrew Dahl, the creator of Prospect Pulse, which is a new website that is coming soon that you will be able to track everything you need for prospecting and Bowman content. Now, the site is not live yet, but you can go to prospectpulsev1.com, put in your email, and be added to the list of people waiting to beta test it. But since I am on that list, I wanted to show you a little preview of what that site is going to look like. Now, this is the landing page here. As you can see, these are all eBay auctions sorted by those ending the soonest for first Bowman autographs of prospects. This is a fantastic tool for anybody who is buying Bowman. You can see this is a base autograph. There's purple, there's gold. Any parallel of any first Bowman autograph of a prospect that is ending will be on here. You can see the current bid price. You can see the time remaining, how many bids have been placed. Now, the beautiful thing, I know how many people are on eBay watching the time rundown on an auction and may not have time to go and comp the card and make sure that they're not paying over comps. Dahl's website does it right here for you. It shows you the last 3 sales of that card and a rolling 5-card average. For the players that played last year, it will also show you their stats. So you're kind of getting it all in one place. You can actually click on the view on eBay and it will take you directly to the bid page so that you can make your bid on eBay. I mean, the tools are endless here. On top of that, you can go to this analytics tab here. You can sort Bowman autographs for the last 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 90 days, all time. So here's what that 30 page looks like. You can sort this. This is currently by my prospect rankings for the hobby, the level the player's at. You can sort it by the sales volume, who's had the most base autographs sold during that time. It will give you the average of what their current base autograph is selling for, the most recent sale, the trends over that time frame. Konnor Griffin's up 9% in the last 30 days. This is probably the coolest part, a liquidity score for each player based on the number of sales, how quickly they move on eBay, how stable he has determined that player's cards are. And then you can actually click into individual players or search for them in the bar here. I'll use Konnor Griffin as an example since he's who we're going to be talking about today. Now, when you go to Konnor Griffin's page, these are his stats from last year. This shows you that he has 6 live eBay auctions. His average base autograph is selling for $784. You can go into this multiplier matrix. Look at this. These are the current most up-to-date multipliers for all of Konnor Griffin's parallels compared to his base average, no longer guessing at multipliers for players. Dahl does all the work for you. This is going to be a 14-day average of his base autograph sales with all confirmed sales from eBay. You can see his card price moving up drastically, as we'll talk about. These are all of the live auctions currently on eBay for Konnor Griffin's cards. And as I said, whether it's base or blue wave or refractor, you get the last 3 comps, you get a rolling 5-card average. You can just sit here and watch these eBay auctions go down. You never have to leave this page and see if you are overpaying before you place a bid on a card. It is going to be a fantastic tool for everybody in the Bowman space. You can scroll down here. You can see all of Konnor Griffin's first Bowman autographs sorted by most recently sold. It will show you every parallel, whether it's sapphire, base, green lava, refractor, sparkle. You can see all of those prices right here. I mean, there's just nothing like this on the market. It's like card ladder on steroids for people who are collecting Bowman. And then perhaps the best part right here, you can go over to your collection. I've put a couple of cards in here, and this is your collection tracker. Now, the coolest thing about the collection tracker is that when you add a card, you can put it in manually. But let's say that you bought the card on eBay. You can go to the URL from the eBay listing where you purchased that card. I have one up right now of a Kevin Alvarez Sparkle that I bought. You can copy this URL. You can put it directly into your collection tracker. And when you press look up, the site will fill in the information for you. It'll show you the player, the release that card came from, the variation, how much you paid for it. You can add it to your collection, how much you paid in taxes and shipping when you purchased it, and it will add it here to your collection. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that it will give you a daily movers. It will show you the 14-day, 30-day average and sales volume of the cards in your collection so you can track the value of your collection in real time. This is something that I'm very excited to see roll out. So make sure you go to prospectpulsev1.com, put in your email address, and be added to the list to beta test it. It's a lot of fun, and it is going to give us such a competitive edge when it comes to buying Bowman cards on eBay. Now, as you can guess, there's probably not a person in the world who looks at eBay sales more frequently than Dahl himself. As he's been building this website, he's been tracking autographs of every player, of every parallel for the past few years on all prospects. So if there's anyone who understands the market on how much a card has gone up or down or what its peak may be, It is Dahl himself, and that's why I've brought him on to talk about the phenomenon that is the card market of number one prospect, Konnor Griffin. All right, we are joined today by Mr. Dahl at Dahl Does Cards on Twitter and Substack. He is our Bowman pricing wizard. How you doing tonight, Dahl?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So I wanted to bring you on because we kind of joke in our text message thread every day. Every time we see a new sale for that Konnor Griffin base autograph, we kind of joke about how ridiculous this market is, and now we're in unprecedented territory. Right, this is the highest priced base autograph we've ever seen for a player prior to making his major league debut. What did you have his price at? We'll talk about January of 2020. We don't have to go back that far. Obviously, he's playing well in spring training. In January of 2026, the start of this calendar year, what did you have his base autograph at?
So going into January of this year, his base auto was around 425, 430, and it finished January at 585.
And it's now at what on average?
Uh, 820, 840.
820.
It's crazy, man. It's unbelievable.
So from the end of December until today, his base autograph has gone up $400 in value, which is crazy to think about, because it's one thing when it's a guy with a $20 base autograph and we're like, oh, this thing could double. Doubling is one thing, 100% gains is one thing, but to talk about it in that dollar amount, to go to double when you're already at $400, it's usually very easy when people ask me, is this guy a buy? Is he a hold? Is he a sell? Usually when you get up into, even when Roman Anthony, even with Cags, when you get up to $300 base autos and people are like, well, should I sell this guy? The answer was always yes, because we had enough data to support the fact that a base autograph could only go so high before a player played a major league game, because there was just a number that we had never seen broken. And now it's gotten to the point where I'm afraid to even answer that question for people. And they're like, could Konnor's cards possibly go up? It's like, how could I even say no anymore? Because I would have told you no $400 ago, and it's still going.
Right. Yeah. It's something we've never seen before. And like I remember midsummer, mid-season, kind of in that like dragging portion of the season where the players are starting to kind of like lose interest a little bit. And I was so excited to see Jack pass Roman Anthony at 350 and thinking like, oh my God, how high can he go? Is he going to hit that $400 number? Obviously, they both debuted, so it's a little bit different now comparing their markets. But even like thinking back to that makes me feel so silly that, we're talking 340. Konnor Griffin was $100 less and wasn't even on our radars as a possible buy because of just how crazy this market has shifted over the past year or so.
It really is. And he's gotten so much hype, obviously, in the offseason. I think a lot of this, like the FOMO beginning of people who didn't have his cards, came from a lot of, there's people circulating on Twitter, like Fangraphs, MLB Pipeline. All these people started coming out. This is the best prospect we've seen since Trout. This is the best prospect we've seen since Bobby Witt Jr., whatever it may be. And that kind of started turning the wheels of people who were like, I need to buy some of these cards if he's going to be that crazy. But we had you compare it to the number one, because the number one prospect, if you're the number one prospect entering spring training, you're going to get talked about. There's going to be, this is the number one prospect. Every time you step on the field for spring training, here's number one prospect, Roman Anthony, Konnor Griffin. So I had you look at Roman Anthony and Jackson Holliday's prices in the 2024 and 2025 spring training season, when they were the number one prospects. They were the ones getting this hype that Konnor was getting. What kind of differences did you see in increases in their base autographs in the same time frame?
Yeah, so looking back to the spring training, or we kind of extended it a little bit further out than just spring training, from January to end of March for 2024 for Jackson Holliday, 2025 for Roman Anthony. They both saw some surges in prices. I mean, Jackson Holliday was sitting there at about 510 base auto, jumped up in March of 2024 to 660. And then after he made his debut, it kind of came back down to earth. It wasn't something that seems sustainable at that point in time, which is kind of what makes me worried about where we're at with Connor Griffin. But then again, like we've kind of said already a couple of times, I didn't think this was sustainable $400 ago. So
Right.
what the market means now, or how the market moves now, it's hard to say. I mean, Roman Anthony, he saw another similar price. I mean, he was almost $200 between January 2025, where he was 210, and then middle of March, end of March, he was over $400. So both 160, $200 increases. Obviously, they both kind of came back down to earth with, you know, Jackson Holiday having height that maybe wasn't substantiated at that point in his career. And then Roman Anthony didn't make the big league opening day roster, and people kind of lost their interest and saw the prices drop back down. So both went up, both came back down. Who's to say what's going to happen moving forward with Connor Griffin?
So it's not uncommon for the number one prospect who's getting all this hype to see that spring training bump. Jackson Holiday, $116 or $160 increase. Roman Anthony, $200 increase. Connor Griffin is now at a $400 increase in that same time frame. So his prices are going twice as fast as Roman Anthony's or Jackson Holiday's ever did, which is crazy to think about because I remember watching Jackson Holiday cards and being like, are people insane? This is such a crazy price tag. And Konnor is blowing this out of the water.
Yeah, it's. Well, I feel like I keep saying the same thing like a broken record, but it's just unbelievable to see how this market has moved over the past several months.
And part of that, the hardest part when it comes to the base autographs growing at such a high rate is the multiplier on the color. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who might have a blue of Connor Griffin that they've been holding since hopefully before it was thousands of dollars. And they're watching that base autograph climb on a daily basis, but there might not be as frequent of true blue sales, which kind of
Right.
makes it tough to gauge how much your card has gone up. So when it comes to the multipliers, I know you on your, by the way, if you haven't signed up, prospectpulsev1.com is Dahl's site he's building for all things prospecting, all things Bowman. It's incredible. But on your site, you have the multipliers for base autographs based on hundreds and thousands of data points and sales. So compared to Connor Griffin, what do other players' multipliers look like? Is Connor growing as his base autograph goes up? Are his blues and his golds going as crazy? Are they going less crazy? Are they about the same?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And what we've kind of spent some time talking about back and forth ourselves, and that I've kind of wrestled with over the past few weeks, kind of trying to track this meteoric rise, is how multipliers shift as the hobby explodes for that player, right? It's obvious his interest has gone up, his prices have just gone out of this world. But how about his multipliers, right? It seems that once base starts to go up, then others would follow. But that's not the case based on the data that we had pulled. What we found was that he's trading at about 33% below release wide multipliers, right? So every single player in 2024 Bowman draft, we take their sales, we calculate averages based on time and date, um, and kind of make like generalized multipliers to help price those cards that maybe don't sell as often. Looking at his refractor auto, right? That is one of the ones that has actually corrected itself in an appropriate fashion. The release wide multiplier on a refractor for 2024 Bowman draft is about 1.9, and Connor Griffin was about 2.12. That's about where him outperforming release wide multipliers ends. It seems like they're pretty compressed and slow to catch up to the rest of the market. His Sapphire is trading at 1.72x compared to a 4.1 release wide multiplier. His blue is trading at a 2. His release wide, it's a 3.66. Like he is trading below his below the release wide multipliers for most other players.
That's pretty crazy. So the people, as his base autograph doubles in price, the people who are hoping that their blues have doubled in have doubled in price aren't likely to see the same increase?
It's hard to say. It seems like it could be a mix of several different factors, like lower supply on the lower print runs. Higher dollar investors are more protective of their investments and probably less likely to, you know, see this 2x and say, I'm going to take that. Whereas they'll maybe look to 5x or, it's just someone who wants to ride it out and see how high this can really go because it is
Yeah, I mean
unprecedented.
that definitely could be the answer. Like you said, with base and refractor, a lot of people who are $400 into a card and see they can get $800 are going to take it. The people who are already 10 grand into a card probably have the money to hold on to that card and see how crazy this thing will get. So maybe the fact that his multipliers are compressed could be because the people who have the really high end stuff aren't selling it, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's funny you bring that up because I also did look at the sales volume by tier in kind of like these buckets, right? Where 150 through 499, there's been 58 sales between Refractor, Purple, Sapphire, Aqua Lava, HCA Choice, Blue Wave, Blue, that are just significantly discounted compared to what we would expect based on those release wide multipliers. Um, and
So do you
it's
think
not.
it could be a factor of, when a guy has a $10 base autograph, if I'm trying to buy something that I think is going to increase in value, I'm not going to buy a $10 base autograph. I'm going to buy a $100 or a $200 true gold. Whereas people who want to buy Konnor Griffin, 99% of us, including myself, can't afford a Konnor Griffin true gold. So do you think that there's a possibility that as a player, the higher a player's price gets, the lower his multipliers get because the buyer pool who can afford to pay that much is smaller?
At the end of the day, I think that's probably the most likely explanation because I myself I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a card. Like
Right.
it is what it is. It's a piece of paper. It's fun.
Right. Now, since you have these multipliers, you can also kind of, because you've gathered all these data points and you have essentially for 2024 Bowman draft for each release found what is to be the most common multiplier for each parallel, you can reverse engineer that also. So based on the sales we've seen for Konnor, his Aqua Lava, his Blue, his Gold, everything we've seen recently, could you imply what his base autograph should be selling for?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like how we can use the multipliers to provide some guidance. We could then take those multipliers and reverse it and say, it seems his base auto prices have overextended themselves, right? Based on the multipliers, it would look like it would be a $600 card, which still pretty ridiculous, but it would be much closer to 600 versus 820 where it is currently. Um, Obviously, it's hard to say because, like we've already alluded to, there's more base autos, so the market's going to be more reactive because there's more supply to go around. But it could also mean that people are just taking advantage of the market movement recently and selling at an increased rate, right? Because it seems like his base auto sales volume has reached an all-time high. He's selling multiple every day, whereas kind of similar to like Roman Anthony back when he was in the 400s, there was one or two a week, maybe like even a month.
I'm going to ask you the impossible question because I said it earlier that I no longer know how to answer this question because he keeps defying the odds. Can Konnor Griffin's base autograph price go up?
I appreciate that you prefaced the question by saying it was
There
impossible.
wasn't
um, and to be honest, man, probably. But
yeah,
is the
right. At
risk
this point, how do we say no?
right? I'm at the point where it's not a yes or no question so much as it is the risk worth the reward. You like let's say you buy it on eBay for $850 because it seems like every sale is going up except for that $1,000 sale. Um, how much is it going to go up over the next month
Right.
that it makes it worth it? Are you investing $850 to make $80? Like I don't how I think it really depends on how you define yourself as an investor, what you're looking for in terms of ROI and risk tolerance, I suppose.
And that's a great point, because a lot of times you'll see, like, I even post them sometimes on Twitter. I'll be like, hey, I shared one the other day, and it was an Otani Bowman Chrome PSA 10, and it was a listing from 2021 where I was trying to sell that card for $265 on Twitter that no one took. I ended up selling somewhere else. It's now a $4,000 card. But, and I did it as kind of like jokes on me, look at this idiot. At the same time, do you think that there's an argument to be made that had you invested that $265 elsewhere, that you could have turned it into more than $4,000 in the last 5 years? So it's like, has that Otani card, do I still feel dumb because I sold it? Yes. But do you think it makes sense that I put that $265 into things that are now worth more than $4,000? So we look at this Konnor Griffin, and it's like you said, is it worth investing $850 to see an $80 increase in 2 to 3 months?
Yeah, that's someone had asked the same question the other day to me, and I kind of struggled with it, but ultimately landed on that mindset that, like, let's say he breaks camp, he makes opening day roster, it hits 1,000 consistently on an $850 investment after fees, taxes, shipping, all that stuff. What's the return? It just doesn't feel like it's worth the risk for that low of a potential reward. And then you have that same thing where, like, everyone was talking about Jack going nuclear last year. He struggled when he debuted, and his card came right back down to earth. So what happens to Konnor Griffin if he makes the opening day roster and he struggles in his first month in the league? Is it just going to crash? And then you're going to have people panic selling harder than you've ever seen before because it's a lot more money than you've ever had invested in cards before.
And like you said, if you pay $850, which is about what they're going for right now, not only are you paying taxes and fees, when you go to sell that thing, assuming you sell it on eBay, there's another 13% that you're losing. So let's say you sell that card later on eBay, they're taking 13%. What number does that $850 base autograph have to get to where it was even worth buying after you sell it and lose 13%?
Right. I like to think of it as, like, I'm not chasing massive wins every time. I like to chase that consistent profit. So even if that threshold was 10%, right, that would have to be an $1,200 card just to hit a 10% ROI on $850. I don't think many people are investing $850 only chasing a 10% ROI.
And as a counterpoint, I think we talked about this earlier, I went on Hard Rock the other day and looked. Konnor Griffin is plus 260 to win NL Rookie of the Year. It's $800 for his base autograph. If you took that $1,000 you were going to spend on Konnor Griffin's base autograph and bet on him to win NL Rookie of the Year, you would profit $2,600, assuming he won, right? What would it take for his autograph to 2.6x in value from where it is right now?
I mean, you'd have to go 40-40, maybe even 50-50, it feels like.
Why, if you're buying his base autograph, why wouldn't you just take that money and bet on him to win NL Rookie of the Year? If that card were to 2x, he will have been playing so well that Rookie of the Year bet will be won by July.
Right.
That you'll already have the cash in your pocket.
Right.
So like you said, it's like putting that much money forward for a potential 10-20% return. I don't really understand the entry point here.
Right. I think the one thing people don't understand is that when we reach certain thresholds of pricing, the hobby becomes efficient. Debut is factored into the pricing. People are pricing his card based on the anticipation that he makes the opening day roster or that he debuts within a month of the season. The price is anticipating that he wins Rookie of the Year. So these are all things that have already been factored into a price before they've happened. So it feels like it's just leaving people's investments wide open to just kind of come crumbling apart.
It almost reminds me a bit of when you like read a news story about a stock and it's like, oh, this company was cleared to, start trials on this medicine. By the time you go to buy that stock, that's already baked into the price. Like you said,
It-
that $800, you think that if he makes the opening day roster and then wins Rookie of the Year, this thing's going to double? This is priced as if he's already done those things.
well, let me ask you a question, and I know you looked into this a little bit more the other day. And I want to preface this question by saying Prospect Pulse only tracks back to 2018 for relevancy purposes, because once people make the MLB, there's a little bit less interest in their cards unless they are one of those stars or superstars. Like,
Sure.
you looked into prices for MLB players the other day. The list of players with more expensive autos
So
were
so here it is. I'll give it to you. So him and Roman are like neck and neck right now on the base autograph. But as of your most recent average, he was slightly up on Roman, if I'm not mistaken. So if he's up on Roman Anthony, here is a full list of every player in Major League Baseball with a more expensive first base. I guess they weren't first back then, but their base chrome autograph. These are the amount of players who are currently higher than Connor Griffin. Otani at $31,000. That's what it was a sealed redemption, his base autograph. 30. He's not even in the conversation.
no.
We can't even compare him. $31,000 is what his last base hitting auto went for. Trout, 3.5K. Aaron Judge, 3K. Juan Soto, 1,200. And Bobby Witt Jr. is around like 850. So Connor Griffin is already priced as Bobby Witt Jr. He's going to take the field and make his professional debut with Soto, Judge, Trout, and Otani being the only players in baseball that are more expensive than him.
That's absurd.
Doesn't that feel crazy? I mean, you know what the problem is that I've become such a hype hater because I love finding value. So immediately when it comes to top prospects, top 10, I'm immediately like sell. I'm a hype hater. I don't want to seem like I'm a Connor Griffin hater because I will tell you that I think that he lives up to a lot of the expectations that people have set for him. All the people who think it's crazy that he's being called Bobby Witt Jr., that he's getting all of these lofty expectations, I do think that he is going to meet them. That does not mean that his card price is going to go up. Obviously people keep saying that he's the next Bobby Witt or whatever. Bobby Witt was another player. He came up around the same time as Julio Rodriguez. He had a ton of hype. He was a huge, and this was like back in like the COVID era. So cards were crazy. They're like the highest they've ever been at. He was another one whose card value went down during his rookie season. Bobby Witt's rookie season, 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, a 98 WRC plus. So he was an average hitter, 722 OPS. Let's say Connor Griffin replicates those stats. If Connor Griffin has a 722 OPS and goes 2030, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. That would be a hell of a season. Are his card prices going to go down if he has a 722 OPS? That feels insane. What is the expectation?
I feel like the hobby didn't leave him much choice. Like, it becomes more efficient. There's more thought put into the market. So all these milestones are already accounted for. So I don't know how much higher it could realistically be expected to go. But then again, like, he's what, 3 for 15 in spring training with 3 home runs, and his prices have just kept going up. So
Yep.
I don't know.
And it's like you said, the other problem when you get all of this hype in the hobby, which is why I was a notorious Jackson Holiday was one of the first players. I love Jackson Holiday. One of the first players that I saw his autograph prices, and I said, you have to be insane to be paying these prices. And the reason is because, as you mentioned, if we're talking about a prospect with a $25 autograph, even a $50 autograph, the amount that player has to struggle and the length of time they have to struggle for you to lose money on your investment is exponentially longer than what would happen to Connor Griffin's cards if he came up and hit under 200 for a month.
Right. And again, I think Connor's a great player. I hope he lives up to the expectations that we've all kind of placed upon him. But at the end of the day, like, we've seen the adjustment to the bigs be quite challenging for some of these young, exciting prospects like Jack, like some of the other guys that we've already talked about this season. So realistically, in my mind, do I see this card going up in value once the season starts? No. But again, I have to kind of add that like disclaimer, like that asterisk next to it every time I say it, because I also was in the same mindset that I wouldn't have thought this months ago either, when he was much cheaper.
All right, so you ran through all the multipliers for Connor Griffin, what the average player from 2024 draft is seeing, as far as a multiplier from refractor to whatever it may be. And his are, substantially lower. And the final number that you came up with here is that based on sales right now, Connor Griffin has an average compression of 32.7% on his parallels that are not base autographs. So the question that I have for you, if you had to guess, I know we don't really know the answer to this question because of the way his sales are coming in and he has this hype that we've never seen before. Do you think does that make you bullish on his colors? We're in agreement that we wouldn't pay $800 for a Connor Griffin base autograph. If you're someone who say you don't care about that, you firmly believe he's going to go up, and you have $10,000-$20,000 to throw at Connor Griffin autographs, are you buying the base because it looks like they're growing at a higher rate, or do you buy the color because you think there's an inefficiency in that market that hasn't caught up yet?
I think what we're going to see with him is that people are going to lose a lot of money because there's so many people buying an unknown number of base autos. So I think if you were to buy into him, I think the smart move would be the variations where there's going to be less panic selling if he does struggle when he gets called up, or if he was to, not make the opening day roster, that short-term regression isn't going to be as amplified in a lower numbered serial numbered card as it would be in a base.
So you're saying that, like, if he comes up and he struggles, the people holding the base autographs are going to be the first ones to jump ship.
It certainly feels that way, and looks like that's how we're setting up events to happen. Yeah.
So if you're buying into the Connor Griffin market, we've said that his multipliers are lower than they should be. You think that the area to attack, we're not saying to buy. If you were to buy, the area to attack, you think would be the lower numbered color, because the people who are holding those oranges and holding those crazy cards of Connor, they're not going to dip out if he bats 150 in his first month.
Right.
Those base autographs could go crazy. And the people holding those reds and oranges have enough money to make sure, or they have enough of a hold on that market to make sure that those cards don't go down below a certain number.
Ultimately, like at the end of the day, I view cards as like self-preservation, right? No one's gonna throw $10,000 into an investment that they don't believe in, and they're gonna do things in their power to not let that investment drop. Where it becomes tricky in this particular case is there's so many different buyers, or at least it seems like there's so many different buyers, since these are ending on auctions on eBay every night, that there's going to be people who have such low risk tolerance that see that initial struggle and say, shoot, I gotta get rid of this, like at least get some of my money back. That's going to happen so much faster in a base auto than it would in like a yellow or a red or an orange, right? Anything that's low serial numbered. Sure. So that's like the biggest thing that I kind of factored into the risks versus reward, is just like having been someone who's seen it happen before and being on the wrong end of panic selling. It's not fun. And the more it depreciates, the more people panic and the lower it will go. So I think the safer bet, not saying it's safe because of everything that we talked about over the past hour or so, but the safer bet would be the serial numbered cards. Less of a...
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that for sure.
But again,
and now
I'm not going to buy in.
We have no way of knowing.
Right.
Yeah. Now, this is going to be impossible to answer, but we're both going to take a stab at it here, because we're going to revisit this months down the road. Let's say Connor Griffin makes the Pirates opening day roster. He is their starting shortstop. Let's give him a month. The first month of the season, let's say May 1st. We're going to revisit this on May 1st. On May 1st, what is your guess for what his first base autograph is going to be selling for on average, regardless of production? I'm not guessing if he's going to come out slow, come out hot. It's $820 today. Give me a May 1st, 2 months from now, prediction on that card.
Yeah, that is an impossible question, man. Like, legitimately. In my mind, like, I have a range that kind of feels like cheating, right? I would anticipate it be somewhere
Give me
between,
give me a $50 range.
damn,
I'm gonna make it tough on you. I want to see how close it is to mine.
I was thinking somewhere between 750 and 8.
Wow, you're way higher than me. I was gonna say like 550 to 6. So
Logic,
you don't think the Panic Cell will be that fast?
logically, I think that you're probably closer to where we'll be. Um, but I've had to throw all logic out the window when thinking about Connor Griffin. And have had to take this mindset of if it makes sense, we don't do that. So there's no real reason or rationale for my answer. I just don't understand the market at all. So I'm just throwing out a guess, thinking people are going to try their best to preserve their own investments and their own asses.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it makes sense because we talked about Cags, we talked about even Roman like went down a little bit before he came back up. Most of these guys, if they come out and they don't light the world on fire, that price will come down. However, when we talked about selling it off, most of these guys, when they come up, there are people who bought this card for $200 when the player got called up. Those people are way more likely to dip out because it's a $200 investment. As you mentioned, the people who have $800 to spend on a raw base autograph, like you said, they might be able to keep the ship afloat.
I would like amongst my final closing remarks to include this idea that once people make their debuts, the Bowman industry or the Bowman collectors just lose interest. The reason it seems people are so into this is because it allows them the ability to feel like scouts, right? They're taking prospects and investing their money into them, hoping that they become the next great thing. Once they debut, what we found is that, or at least what I've found is, one, it's really hard to ever get your prices back to what they were at date of debut. Two, if you struggle, it's over. It just
Oh yeah.
it's nearly impossible to come back up. Someone like Christian Campbell.
Oh, perfect example.
He was a $200+ card at date of debut. Now you can consistently find him $75. And if he makes it back up to the MLB at some point this season, it'll maybe be $100 card. It won't ever
And
reach
even if
his
he's good, it'll never be $200 again.
exactly. So that's
And that's part
something
of the
to
reason why and it's part of the reason why when you get into prospecting, a lot of the people who are collectors who don't prospect, it's like one of the questions that I get asked most frequently. They're like they'll have a comparison like, well, this is what Paul Goldschmidt's Bowman autograph goes for, and it's the same price as this 18-year-old prospect. You really think that this 18-year-old prospect's going to have a better career than Paul Goldschmidt? I'm like, that's not the comparison at all. Because like you said, when you get called up, the next time, like there's a couple times in your career that you can generate hype. Right now, Connor Griffin is in like the most prime spot. Number one prospect. Everyone sees him on Twitter. Everyone sees him on ESPN. You have Jeff Passan talking about how he's a generational talent. This is like where it peaks for a player. After he debuts, do you know the next time he'll be as exciting as he is today? Like the day he retires. Like
right.
there's like in between, there's no room for you to keep that hype going. You look at players like Goldschmidt. Bryce Harper is another one that people will use as a comparison. Bryce Harper's a perfect example. He came up. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was, at 16 years old. He lived up to all of that hype. He's going to hit 30 home runs a year. Nobody cares. It's the hype machine. It's how it works. No matter how much you believe in Connor Griffin, the thought that you think he's going to bottle this hype he has right now and sustain it for any extended period of time. I mean, I gave you the list of names that are higher priced than him. Ohtani can do that. Judge has done that. Soto has kind of done that. Trout has done that. Like those are the four names you're looking at.
Right.
You know how hard it is to be a top 5 player in baseball for a decade? Like the weight on this kid's shoulders from the card community feels insane.
Yeah. No, I mean, kind of even like stepping back a little bit further, right? Like there's other prospects in these classes, these releases that just they are at like similar points in their career, and it feels like they just get no love. So it's just amazing to see how much hype really drives it. And then once they make those debuts, like we already know who they are. There's no uncertainty about them as a player or them as a prospect any longer. So there's just no interest in their market. And it stinks. But that's what makes Bowman so exciting, and what like really captivated me in this specific subset of the hobby is like I love doing that research. I love watching a player in single A trying to figure out their plate approach, and then like
Absolutely.
watching that growth and that progression. That's not something that happens once they reach the MLB because they've gone through the development. They are who they are. It just kind of a reflection of where the hobby's at. It feels like it's more trying to gamble on that next big prospect, that prospect not everyone knows about. It's just not a replicable like process, right? You got to trust the process, like read the articles that you're putting out and take advantage of the people who put in the time and energy to research and understand how this market is shifting.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. I'm sure we're going to have you back on. We'll dive into more of the stuff in the future as far as multipliers for other players. And, one of the things, you just added graded card support to your site. So now we can look at PSA 10 values versus PSA 9s, trying to find if, how much gem rates correlate to a multiplier from 9s to 10s, all that good stuff. So we will definitely have you back on. Again, everybody make sure you're following Dahl at Dahl Does Cards on Twitter and on Substack. I appreciate you joining me, sir.
It was an honor. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Dahl for joining us. Make sure you be on the lookout for future episodes where I'm going to dive deeper into my personal prospect rankings, more card market analysis, and everything we can to give you a competitive edge in the prospect game.